We all are witnessing a piece of UFC history here tonight.
This place is deafening right now.
I got chills, man. I can't believe it's really going to happen. It is going to happen.
UFC 200 was really the centerpiece of what was the UFC's 5th International Fight Week, but this week was pretty unique. We did 3 UFC live events on back-to-back nights, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, all leading in to the monster that was UFC 200, to be headlined by the rematch between Conor McGregor and Nate Diaz. But a lot of you will remember, Conor McGregor said, "Thanks for the cheese, I'm out." Looked like he was maybe going to go into retirement or not, but UFC 200 needed a main event, and they thought they had one with Daniel Cormier and Jon Jones, but ultimately Jon Jones was not able to compete about 3 days out. Very hard pill to swallow for Daniel Cormier, who was later matched up with Anderson Silva. That elevated Miesha Tate and Amanda Nunes into the main event, and, just another example of the combat sports leader's ability to pivot and put on a show when a lot of promotions wouldn't have been able to do so.
Amanda Nunes, the Lioness.
Amanda needs to be one of the greatest female fighters of all time. She needs to be one of the greatest fighters of all time, period.
Amanda Nunes is lanky, tall, and she can crack. It's a lot of leverage when she throws, a lot of leverage. And she knows how to use her punches well. She knows how to turn her hip into it.
Amanda Nunes has to be the hardest hitting 135-pound woman on the planet. She has set a precedence for how powerful she is. She's one of the best in the world.
Amanda Nunes fought the perfect fight against Miesha Tate at UFC 200. She dominated Miesha Tate, smashed her, got her to the ground, and choked her out for the UFC bantamweight title.
Certainly you can argue that UFC 200 was the coming out party for Amanda Nunes. She disposes of Miesha Tate, would go on to beat Ronda Rousey and become the consensus greatest of all time. When UFC President Dana White pulled Daniel Cormier aside several days out to tell him that Jon Jones was not going to be able to compete, DC was about as deflated and dejected as he had ever been throughout his professional career, who in his wildest expectation did not think that he would be fighting Anderson Silva.
Anderson Silva looked unstoppable and unbeatable for a very long time.
Anderson was able to defend that belt 10 times because he was simply the best.
Now, he went on to beat Anderson Silva rather dominantly, 30-26 across the board, but nothing easy about competing against Anderson Silva without having a training camp to prepare for him. And just the magnitude of fighting the Spider, the consensus greatest of all time, certainly was not lost on DC. Well, top to bottom, you can argue UFC 200, in terms of the talent, was the deepest fight card in UFC history. Just look at the main card lineup. Cain Velasquez, one of the greatest heavyweight champions of all time, opening the main card against Travis Browne. The athletes that competed on the pay-per-view main card at UFC 200 have gone on to headline 92 UFC live events, and that says nothing of the prelims. And all of those fighters who competed on the Fight Pass prelims have headlined a UFC live event. Certainly the UFC rolled out the red carpet for the fans, for everybody else, and UFC 200, it was just one big fight after the next. The star power kept on coming, and just speaks to the depth and the monster that was UFC 200 back in the summer of 2016. Even if the shade on the canvas could be a little bit lighter.